Yeah. Safe up here.
When did you get up this morning then?
About 3:30. Good morning.
When did your mom get to you then?
Hmm?
You saying someone's going to deliver something to you? Yesterday.
Well, good morning. Welcome to the Rise and Shine Show. Good morning. As we work in the Nelson studio, Mike. Yeah, all right. I'll get it ready for you. Oh, sorry.
No worries, man.
1, 2, 3, 4. It's the Rise and Shine Show with Johnny and Neil. In the Rise and Show every morning. We bring some music for you. This is Lion, it's £1. You can buy this track for £1. All these tracks here that I'm playing now, you can buy for £1 each. To get through to the studio, it's 07917 008 654. Put international 0044 7917 008 654. To the studio. Talking at the same time, innit?
Oh, I won't do it.
Whenever you want to talk to me through the microphone. We'll chat through the microphones, yeah? You don't have to talk all the time, but when you want to talk to me, talk through the microphone.
You're alright, mate.
Thank you.
No worries.
Unusual phenomenon when 16.8 C, the Scottish Highlands at 3 a.m. The record 8 December temperature went unnoticed in Scottish Highlands. Who's finding news reporter? The UK has witnessed an exceptional temperature for late December. It was so early in the morning that most people slept through it. According to the Met Office, 16.8 C, 62.2 Fahrenheit, was recorded in North Scotland at 3 a.m. on Sunday in the town of Calais. The average nighttime temperature for that area in late December is about 0 degrees C, 32 degrees Fahrenheit. Met Office forecaster Alex Merkel said it was the highest UK temperature recorded this late in the year. He said it is pretty exceptional. We've never recorded a temperature that high this late in the month. What makes it more unusual was the temperature came at 3 a.m. US launches biggest attack in a decade on Iran-backed militias. Guns and more than 1,000 bullets lost or stolen from military defence bases. Church security team quickly kills gunman after death. 999. What's the time police release shocking hoax schools?
Hear me now. Rastafarian. Everybody ready? Do what you have to do. Relax. Don't stress. Everybody stressed out.
What's your artist name?
My artist name is
Scarface. Scarface, yeah?
Scarface, yes. Because I got many scars on my face. As I used to go through the jungle. Nowadays, everybody wanna die. Nowadays, everybody wanna ride. When they got nice to say, nothing comes up when they motherfucking do it. And if you're ready, you don't have to say shit. And if you are ready, you can say shit. Lyrical verse, lyrical this, lyrical that. John, you're too much. I'm gonna say, John, too much. You don't think like in the drummers. You should be on the bass. You should have your own studio with your own crowd representing you. You're not saying much. One love, one heart, let's get together.
Right, there's some stories, trending stories, but none of them are really great stories. They're just a bit gossip, a bit fun. But like in the Mirror, there was an antiques roadshow expert drinks urine after mistaking it for 150-year-old pork. In the Sun, girl 12 saves baby brother after stranger kisses and tries to abduct toddler. BBC News. Thunberg's father, she is happy but I worry.
Nobody. I thought sharing like
Bustle. 31 things that dramatically upgrade your bedroom for less than $30 on Amazon.
So wrong, realized so it was too late. Modern niggas. I'm not here trying to rap, cause I don't rap. I'm not here trying to.
All for you. News in pictures, Monday, December 3rd, 2019. The good, the bad, the ugly, the moist soil return. Still football, football.
And I will leave this earth by myself.
Sports.
So the only thing I can do is show some respect to people. And the ones that don't show no respect, just leave alone. Hey, yo,
Science. Bethel Goose star is behaving strangely and could be about to explode into a supernova, astronomers say. The brain-boosting nootropic smart drink is based on the public helped NASA pick a landing site on asteroid. Entertainment. Zac Efron was flown to Australia after falling ill filming a survival show. Strictly star Karen Hauer shares gorgeous new love. Emmerdale's Charlie Webb shares photo inside her incredible. Family, you got to see that. Health. Opinion. Trust your gut on the value of academia's fact studies. Why the new diet is proven to help people lose weight. 5 friends who struggled for years to conceive all fall. technology. The new wave of electric vehicles will appear in 2020. That's good. It's good news. Goodbye smartphones, hello smart glasses. Aftermath driving into a new decade.
Fuck up. This ain't no joke. This ain't no more. How the fuck you came to the earth? You think you came for a batty?
Ghana wants to join new West African currency, but
Don't get that. No. Even those animals.
Ghana wants to join new West African currency, but bitch Euro peg. Ghana's government said it is determined to join a West African currency that will replace a France-backed CFA, franc, as soon as next year in 8 regional countries. But it urged members of the currency union to ditch a planned peg to the euro. Ghana's adoption of the new currency, which is called the ECHO, would make it the bloc's largest economy ahead of neighbour Ivory Coast. Ghana is not part of the West African Economic and Monetary Union, but mostly former French colonies that uses the CFA franc and has its own currency, the CEDI. Ivory Coast President Alassane Ouattara and French President Emmanuel Macron announced this month that West Africa's monetary union had urged to cut some financial links with Paris that had underpinned the region's common currency since its creation soon after World War II. Under the deal, African countries in the bloc will not have to keep half of their reserves in the French treasury, and a French representative will no longer sit on the currency union's board. We in Ghana are determined to do whatever we can to enable us to join the member states of UEMOA soon in the use of the ECO, as we believe it will help remove trade and monetary barriers. President Nana Akufo-Addo's office said in a statement. Right now we're going to take a look at the BBC News. Bank Chief Carney issues climate change warning. Bank of England Chief Mark Carney issues climate change warning. The world will face irreversible heating unless firms shift their priorities soon. The outgoing head of Bank of England has told BBC. Mark Carney said the financial sector had begun to curb investment in fossil fuels, but far too slowly. He said leading pension fund analysis is that if you add up the policies of all companies out there, they are consistent with the warming of 3.7 to 3.8 degrees C. Mr. Carney made comments in a pre-recorded BBC Radio 4 Today interview. He added that the rise of almost 4 C, 39 Fahrenheit, was far above the 1.5 degrees that the people say they want, the governments are demanding. Scientists say the risks associated with an increase of 4 C include a 9-metre rise in sea levels, affecting up to 760 million people, severe heat waves and droughts, and serious food supply problems. Mr. Carney, who will next year start his role as United Nations Special Envoy for Climate Action and Finance, continues to concern is whether we will spend another decade doing worthy things, but not enough, and we will blow through 1.5 C mark very quickly. As a consequence, the climate will stabilise at a much higher level. I've got an idea for the rise.
Chief Executive Richard Hughes quoted as saying the area is white and needs more diverse visitors. He's worried that mud and rain are putting people off, arguing we need surfaces to reflect the changing society. The Sun says his remarks have been blasted as nonsense. It's now 17 minutes to 7. Our main news this morning. The Bank of England Governor Mark Carney has told us some financial assets could become worthless unless investment companies do more to adjust to climate change. Now, in the year that saw millions of people take part in marches demanding more action on climate, this programme is reported from both the Arctic and the Antarctic, where our science editor Tom Fielden saw how scientists are monitoring the movement of glaciers.
From the top of the ramp, the finger of glacial ice that towers over the Rothera Research Station, it's easy to be lulled into a false sense of security. It's high summer here now on the Antarctic Peninsula, but still the ice beneath my feet is hundreds of meters thick. The Graptile ridge of peaks over my shoulder is capped in white, and the sea ice in the bay is solid enough to hold a series of majestic icebergs fast. But appearances can be deceptive. Away to the south, there's open water, and although I can't feel the glacier I'm standing on, it's running down to the sea faster than ever. Across the continent, scientists are documenting similar changes. The slumbering white giant at the bottom of the world is waking up.
So, the drilling. So we are going to go through the ice sheet into the underlying bedrock.
Miles away, one of those scientists, the Cambridge geologist Dr. Joanna Johnson, surveys the frozen glacier that will be her home over the next few months.
That will tell us that the site has been ice-free for some time in the past 6,000 years.
Dr. Johnson's one of the lead investigators on the Thwaites collaboration, an international research program studying one of the major glaciers that make up the West Antarctic ice sheet. About the size of Great Britain, Thwaites has recently begun to accelerate, flowing into the Amundsen Sea at an unprecedented rate.
We're quite concerned about the future of Thwaites because the rate of flow of the glacier has increased hugely in the past 30 years or so, and at the moment it's contributing about 4% of global sea level rise.
Really, Thwaites is contributing 4% of the sea level rise we're already experiencing.
Yes, that's the present day. And I think the concern is that this is going to increase potentially quite rapidly.
Unlike the Arctic, in particular the Greenland ice sheet, which is melting 7 times faster than in the 1990s, Antarctica has been thought to be relatively stable, greater snowfall roughly compensating for increased melting. But the most recent satellite data shows that broad equilibrium is breaking down. Where Greenland leads, Professor Andy Shepherd, who heads the INVI consortium of satellite modelers, argues Antarctica is set to follow.
We've been warming up the ice sheets for 30, 40, 50 years, I don't know, something like that. It's taken quite a long time for the effects of that warming to be visible in satellite observations. But it's really, really clear now. In the past decade alone, Antarctica and Greenland ice losses have increased by huge factors.
If you hear anything on the radio you want to comment about this area, I'll play about the radio one is a written comment.
The glaciers starting to wake up.
Yeah,
speak on the mic.
Into the sea.
This is one of our minutes, this one's on.
Do you not want to speak on the mic?
I'm just a little bit sleepy, Joe.
Because I don't have to record the show. I'll tell you what we'll do. Ray Houston.
I always say that they're like mechanical dolphins.
But exactly how much and how quickly was the damage is hidden under thousands of square miles of ice is hard to quantify. Gadgets on the top.
Gadgets, exactly.
University of East Anglia's Professor Karen Haywood is using an array of autonomous gliders and screens, including AutoSub Long Range, better known as boating with Boatface, to quantify the losses.
So what Boatface can tell us is what is it like underneath that ice shelf? Maybe tens or even 100 kilometres into the ice cavity. How turbulent it is, how much is the ice melting,
Right, the
how
mic's
much of
off
that
now.
warm water is getting underneath the ice shelf.
Alison, hi, good to see you.
We're just in the room now, we're just talking in the room.
Yesterday afternoon.
Back on the
Recording on the computer. All right, mate.
well established in the Arctic.
Rise and shine show.
Ice sheets
Yeah.
beginning to appear in Antarctica.
So we've been out installing various instruments.
Dr. Alison Banwell has spent the last 2 months camped out on the George VI ice shelf studying the formation of meltwater lakes on the surface of the ice.
You may have heard of the breakup of the Larsen B ice shelf, which happened in 2002. Before the ice shelf broke up, over 2,000 lakes were observed to drain in the couple of weeks before the breakup. And we've been running models and looking at satellite images, which show that those lakes may have caused their breakup to occur.
Scientists thought Antarctica was simply too big, too cold for meltwater lakes to have much of an impact. Again, questions where the Arctic leads, Antarctica maybe follow.
The West Antarctic ice sheet contains about 3.3 meters of sea level rise.
If that's true, climate scientist Dr. Townsend Edwards argues all bets may be off.
Although that could be lost in a few years or decades.
Yeah, man, that's like on it.
Hundreds
Yeah.
of years, because that change is irreversible. We couldn't stop it by reducing the warming, for example, or reducing the temperature of the planet. We can't.
But Smith's on his bike.
Is it?
Clearly,
I'll get him a chair and put him over here.
Yeah.
That's most concerning.
John Fielden reporting there. The time is now 11 minutes to 7. And today's puzzle for today has been set by
Provision?
BBC.
I'm alright, mate. Well,
With an average global
It's a nice
temperature
comfortable
rise
chair
of
as well.
1.5
Yeah.
degrees centigrade,
He's
the UN
comfortable, isn't it?
expect the Arctic Ocean to be free of sea ice one summer per century. If there's 2 degrees warming, they expect one summer free of ice per decade. So over the next century, how many more summers will the Arctic Ocean be if the average temperature rose by 2 versus 1.5 degrees Celsius?
You can see why I think there is an ice theme to this morning's
Well,
puzzle. It's
cigarette?
because of our guest
No,
editor,
why?
of course,
Otherwise,
this morning's
why?
programme. And something she often says is listen to the science. For this
You
programme,
give
she
it to
asked
her.
us to speak to the leading climate scientist, Kevin Anderson, to get a sense of where we are on global emissions and global warming. He's Professor of Energy and Climate Change at the University of Manchester and a former Director of the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change Research. Good morning, Professor Anderson.
Good morning.
Can we begin with where we are in relation to the pledges that were made at the most significant climate summit, which was Paris in 2015? How far have we got in meeting those?
We are nowhere near meeting the commitments we made in Paris. And at the moment, what we are seeing is actually global emissions are going up. So we're not even starting to stop the rise in emissions. Every year we're seeing an increase in emissions of around about 1%. But as the emissions go up every year, that 1% is actually a bigger absolute amount of emissions put into the atmosphere. So we are continuing to fail across the globe. It is also important to bear in mind that whilst many countries, the UK included, try to say, look, we're demonstrating real leadership in line with Paris, there's a lot of what you might call imaginative accounting going on there, whereby we tend to emissions from aviation and shipping. We don't include those in our numbers. We don't include all the emissions we offshore to other parts of the world by buying in our computers and our clothes and our equipment from other parts of the world like China. We then blame them for the emissions, but we're buying in those goods.
But
In
we-
fact, all of those things, even countries like the UK, are seeing very small reductions in emissions. So
That's
across the board,
emissions.
all countries are
Yes.
failing.
Where are we then on global warming and the actual increase from pre-industrial levels of the temperature?
Well, the levels that we're putting out every year, as I say, are going up. And what's happening with the temperatures is we're seeing this rise in temperature. And that again is just going to align with our ongoing rise in emissions. So we are heading towards a 3 to 4 degrees C rise across this century. If we carry on as we are today, yet our commitments are for 1.5 to absolutely at the most 2 degrees centigrade of warming, which, let's be clear, neither of these are safe levels. For many people around the world, generally poorer people in climate vulnerable parts of the world, they will be impacted very severely, even by just 1.5 degrees centigrade of warming. And we have known this for 30 years.
You were mentioned in the programme that was edited by Charles Moore on Saturday when Lord Ridley appeared, the science writer and Conservative peer. I mean, he called you a doomsday cultist. He said that you believe we're going to see a 4-degree rise in temperature by 2050. Is that your belief?
No, it's not. We are very unlikely to anything like a 4-degree sea rise across by 2050. Emissions, with the rate of growth in emissions, certainly has come down compared to where it was at the beginning of the century. So really, as I say, if we carry on at the moment, we're seeing 3 to 4 degrees centigrade by the end of the century. But that is almost like living on a different planet from the one we're in today. Let's be clear, across the last 10,000 years, all modern human time, we've only seen at most about 1 degree centigrade of warming. And we're talking about almost overnight.
Sorry, borrowing
like
that.
3 to 4 degrees centigrade, unless we very rapidly
I'm going to repair your favour.
bring those down incredibly.
Are you?
Well, let's just explore what that would mean. We've got a major summit that the UK is going to be hosting at the end of next year. If there were global pledges along the lines of what the UK has put into law,
I'm one for after anyway, George, just like, just for after.
What is it?
Expensive blue.
Across the globe, that would be
thank you very much.
I think that would move in the right direction. If all of the globe we went to zero emissions,
I'll get up with it later.
has been put in, whereby that means the wealthy parts of the world mostly will carry on emitting from some sectors they call difficult, like aviation, for example, and they will rely on the future generations, for Greta's generation, to suck the money out of the atmosphere. This is the
if you do, spend it wisely, do you know what I mean?
We can weed with it.
Yeah, that's what I mean, wisely, attend to your business in a professional manner, do you know what I mean?
I'll give you a split when I get paid the first time.
What I'm saying is, just don't stop churning all your
very
profits.
clearly gave us
But I'll be getting money. I'll be earning £200 a week.
That's all right, average wage.
That's an ounce a week.
Average wage is,
With an ounce a week, we can give away a little bit.
Seriously. Where I work in Sweden, they're not taking that seriously. So we continually
okay.
not only impose the impacts
Well,
of
well, for you then.
parts of the world,
Hmm?
but we are
Yeah, it works out.
giving
So do I hope it works out.
by us making more rapid reductions.
Those who try hard should succeed.
If we hit zero emissions by 2050 at the global level, we have a chance of 2 degrees centigrade of warming.
Kevin Anderson, thank you.
It's now 6 minutes to 7, and continuing with our environmental theme. Over the last 2
Right,
weeks,
time show's not supposed to start till 7.
spot any
We're a bit early this
or
morning.
ladybirds.
Oh,
To try to better
Yeah,
help us
we're a bit
understand
early.
the effects of climate change on biodiversity.
6 minutes, 7.
Hundreds of you responded. Thank you very much for that. To give us the results and to tell us what they mean, I'm joined now by Matt Shardlow, who's the CEO of Bud Life, the Invertebrate Conservation Trust. And explain to us, why are we looking for bees and ladybirds at this time of year?
Good morning. Well, we've asked people to go out and look for bees and ladybirds for a couple of reasons. One is that bees, particularly bumblebees, historically weren't active during the winter, so we never used to see bumblebees in the winter until the 1990s, but that's changed recently. So we wanted to get a little tab on what's happening with the bees in the winter and the bumblebees and their activity. But we also wanted to have a look at ladybirds as well, partly because of the invasive harlequin ladybird, which is spreading throughout the country and having an impact on native wildlife.
Because the harlequin ladybird can outcompete and even destroy native ladybirds?
That's right. So the harlequin ladybird arrived through the pot plant and horticulture trade in the UK in 2004 and has spread widely throughout the southern part of the country and in such abundance and numbers that they're eating our native ladybirds and competing with them. So things like the 7-spot and 10-spot and 2-spot ladybirds, our traditional ladybirds in the UK, have been hammered by this invasive species coming in and taking their niche and eating them.
So what have we learned from what our listeners were able to tell us about what they've spotted over the last 4 months?
Well, on the ladybird survey, it was really quite interesting. We had nearly 150 people taking part, finding 1,200 ladybirds across the country. And one thing we'd hope to find was aggregation. So the aggregations is where the ladybirds come together in winter and hibernate, and particularly at Christmas time when people might be opening up their spare room, they might find these aggregations in their houses. So we asked people to look and count how many they had, and we had 18 records of aggregations around the country, the highest number being 100 in Lydney, in an outbuilding, And the really interesting thing I thought was that there's a pattern in that distribution. So only 3 of those aggregations that were reported were to the east of Birmingham. So it looked like there were more aggregations of harlequins being recorded to the west than the east. Now we know that there still are aggregations happening in the east, but people have been reporting them. But we haven't had reports this year, and this goes for our work at Bug Life, where people phone up and ask, there are anywhere near as many aggregations as in previous years. So that raises the question of what might be happening.
Right, Charlotte, thank you very much for explaining that to us.
3 minutes to 7. Darren Betts here with the weather. Darren?
Yes, we'll start across southern England, Wales, Midlands and eastern England, where it's a cooler start here. We've got 1 or 2 frost pockets, but on the whole it's frost-free. A few mist and fog patches, mainly in the Midlands and southern England. And I think for most of the day, southern England and West Wales will be pretty cloudy. We should get a bit of sunshine elsewhere. And temperatures in the afternoon are fairly mild, 10 to 12 degrees. Moving northwards into northern England, away from Cumbria, I think we'll see some sunshine this morning before we get a band of cloud that is on a weak weather front. Moving down from the north late afternoon into the evening, it'll bring a few pockets of light rain and drizzle, but before then, temperatures of 10 or 11 degrees. For Northern Ireland today, it looks quite cloudy. We'll see some patchy light rain and drizzle. That's going to be arriving from the north mid-morning onwards, clearing away towards the end of the day, allowing skies to clear in the evening. Before then, temperatures 9 or 10 degrees. Most of the rain, I think, will be affecting the northwest of Scotland. A band of cloud, patchy rain sinking southwards, sunshine in the afternoon from northern Scotland, 10 or 11 degrees cooler in the northwest.
Thanks for that, Darren. Now, here's something you may elect to listen to later today.
Democracy.
We hear it
About democracy. Of democracy itself.
But what does it mean?
It's not a simple thing at all.
And does it currently work?
I've never once seen an MP I voted for elected.
Maybe it's time we got...
Definitely.
Could an ancient Athenian fix Britain? This Monday to Friday afternoon at 1:45 on BBC Radio 4.
In the next hour of the programme, Massive Attack tell us why they're aiming to make their concerts carbon neutral. And we'll be hearing from Greta Thunberg's father, Svante, on how campaigning helped her out of her depression.
You're listening to Today on BBC Radio 4 with Michelle Hussein and with Sarah Smith. The Bank of England governor has said financial companies need to act more quickly to prevent the climate crisis wiping out the value of their assets. Officials in the Australian state of Victoria say people who ignored advice to evacuate.
I'm trying something else out there. I'm trying it.
Yeah.
I need to sign in.
Yeah.
But that's that, I'm not signing in.
Why not, mate?
I've got a TV licence.
Alright.
But we need a TV licence to sign. Got to sign in. Put these on.
To warn about the risks that would lead to a financial shock. 5 years ago, he said firms investing in fossil fuels could see their value plummet as nations took steps towards clean energy to protect the climate. At that time, only a handful of major companies were factoring climate change into their planning. Mr. Carney said that number had grown substantially, but there was still a long way to go.
We've made a lot of progress, but I will tell you today that, and like virtually everything else with respect to climate change, it's not moving fast enough. So it's moved a long way, but it needs to move a lot further.
He said pension funds had judged that if fossil fuel firms extracted all their existing reserves of coal, gas and oil, the world would heat by nearly 4 degrees Celsius. That's way above the 1.5 Celsius limit scientists are urging. Mr. Carney says he fears governments and firms will keep taking measures that are worthy, but not enough.
The heads of 2 environmental bodies have warned that the coming year is the last chance for the world to tackle climate change. Tony Juniper from Natural England and Emma Howard-Boyd of the Environment Agency say damage to nature is already having dire consequences. They've set out their concerns on the website of the Green Alliance think tank. Our science correspondent, Anna Push, reports.
In their article, Emma Howard-Boyd and Tony Juniper point to the recent flooding in Fish Lake in South Yorkshire as an indication of the impact that environmental degradation is already having on people's lives. They also cite a study on the state of nature in the UK, which found that the country's wildlife species had declined by 40% over the past 50 years. With Britain set to host the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow in September, the onus will be on the UK to take the lead in coordinating international efforts to act more effectively. And so the leaders of two key environmental bodies say that 2020 is our last chance to bring the world together and reverse the recent alarming loss of wildlife.
The authorities in the state of Victoria have now too late for people threatened by bushfires to evacuate. Yesterday, tens of thousands of residents and tourists were told to leave because of worsening conditions. Shamma Khalil reports from Sydney.
2 of the 3 fires in Victoria's East Gippsland area have now merged into a bigger blaze. The area's main highway has been partially closed near the border with the state of New South Wales. It is the main road in and out of the remote region of Victoria's east coast. With temperatures rising above 40 Celsius and strong winds changing direction, authorities have warned there could be further closures. Officials have also said that any lightning strikes in drought-affected forests have the potential to quickly start life-threatening blazes. An estimated 30,000 people are currently holidaying in the area. Victoria's Emergency Management Commissioner Andrew Crisp said anyone still there faced being stranded because now it was too late to leave. A major music festival in the state has been cancelled.
Rebecca Long-Bailey has said she's considering standing to replace Jeremy Corbyn as the leader of the Labour Party. In a newspaper article, the Shadow Business Secretary says Labour's compromise solution on Brexit was partly to blame for its election defeat. Our political correspondent Jessica Parker reports.
As the new year approaches, so does the upcoming Labour leadership contest. Rebecca Long-Bailey, who has been seen as something of a front-runner from the left of the party, has broken her silence by confirming in the Guardian newspaper that she is considering a bid. The Shadow Business Secretary has been a prominent advocate of policies crafted under Jeremy Corbyn's leadership, but perhaps in an attempt to create a distinct brand of her own, she talks about reviving a cause of progressive patriotism and adds that while Labour's Brexit policy satisfied too few at the election, the party can't blame Brexit alone. However, reports have emerged that another Jeremy Corbyn ally, the party chair Ian Lavery, is also seriously considering trying for the top job. Only 2 people, Emily Thornberry and Clive Lewis, have so far officially declared, but for the numerous others still testing the waters, it will soon be time to decide whether to take the leap.
The Mayor of New York City has responded to a knife attack at a rabbi's house by announcing a series of measures to tackle what he said was a crisis caused by a rise in anti-Semitism. He said the authorities had to act aggressively after 5 people were wounded in the attack in New York State on Saturday. Our North America correspondent Alim Makboul reports.
The Mayor of New York, Bill de Blasio, says there will now be more police deployed in areas across the city that have large Jewish communities. It follows the string of violent attacks in the past 2 weeks in New York, mainly targeting Orthodox Jews, from the stabbing of 5 people at a Hanukkah celebration to the assault of 3 women by an attacker who's reported to have told police she hit them because they were Jewish. The mayor says school students in some parts of the city will now get anti-hate crime lessons, but blame the increase in anti-Semitic attacks on the divisiveness stirred up by the current White House administration. The mayor himself, though, has been criticized for not having taken seriously at an earlier stage the calls for more protection for New York's Orthodox Jewish communities.
A man who opened fire with a shotgun during a church service in Texas has been shot dead by members of the congregation. The gunman killed 2 people at the church in Fort Worth before 2 worshippers returned fire. They were praised by the county sheriff, Bill Wabin.
It's a horrific day in Tarrant County. Our prayers and thoughts are with the folks over here at the church and the people that are lost. But today, evil walked boldly among us. And let me remind you, good people raised up and stopped it before it got worse.
A Chinese scientist who said he'd created the world's first gene-edited babies has been given a 3-year prison sentence. He Jiankui shocked the scientific community last year when he announced the birth of twins whose genes had been altered to prevent the contracting HIV. A court in China found him guilty of violating the government ban by conducting experiments on human embryos. University graduates in England will in future get their loan statements online, with paper versions available on request. The Department of Education says the data on payments is now checked against tax records weekly, making the statements more up to date. Here's our education editor, Brandon Jeffries.
The first annual statement on your student loans arrives the April after you graduate. These will now be online and less of paper alternatives needed. It's invisible to the cost of your university education, and what you're expected to contribute becomes visible. From April 2020, that will be 9% of everything you earn over £26,575. Graduates can already log on to their student finance account to check their balance and make payments. A shift to weekly updates based on government's tax records should reduce the risk of paying too much interest mistake. Tuition fee loans are written off after 30 years, with the government funding the outstanding balance.
Last Saturday appears to have been a very unusual day in El Salvador. There were no reports of any murders. The Central American country has one of the highest murder rates in the world, which the violence blamed on criminal gangs. The president highlighted the good news for the state of the dead with words, "Thank God."
9 minutes past an hour. So Mayor of New York now new police measures to combat recent anti-Semitic attacks there. Police in London are treating graffiti as being sprayed up the synagogue and several shops as a racially motivated hate crime. The Star of David and the numbers 9/11 appeared on Hampstead in Belsize Park, and that's a reference to a racist conspiracy theory that Jewish people were responsible for the 9/11 terror attacks. I can talk now to Marie van der Zilk, who is president of the board of Deputies of British Jews. Have you seen graffiti like this in the UK before?
Morning, Sarah. Thankfully, in the centre of London, it is rare, but the CST produces an annual report. Last June, I'm afraid, was a record year where there were 1,688 incidents, of which 710 were comprised of graffiti and anti-Semitic abuse. For example, online, I've certainly seen this sort of abuse myself in the synagogue, for example, at Leeds some years ago. So it does happen, but thankfully in the centre of London, it is rare. But as you say, it's a racially motivated hate crime.
And Home Office data does show that there has been a recent rise in anti-Semitic attacks. And of course, it's impossible to ignore the fact that this coincides with the attack on the home of a rabbi in New York State, where 5 people were seriously injured. Why do you think it is that we seem to be seeing an increase in this form of anti-Semitism?
Well, of course, this wasn't an attack on people, as we've seen in the USA, but clearly there's been a rise in hate crime against different groups. And as a society, we need to be clear that anti-Semitism, anti-Jewish racism, Islamophobia, homophobia, and prejudice is not acceptable in our society.
Jewish community leaders in the States have been talking about the normalization of hate speech and also the lack of action against anti-Semitic abuse on social media. Those contributing factors, you think, who is it that's normalizing hate speech?
I think that social media is definitely a contributing factor, as I've said in the figures for the CST produced last year. 36% of incidents recorded of anti-Semitism were to do with social media. Well, things start with our political leaders. We need to see all of them setting a clear example and clear messages that any form of hate and prejudice is not acceptable in our society. And I think Simon Sharma, the historian, has said that taken together the stabbings in New York and what's happened in London shows something monstrous is rising out of the slime, and this really has to be addressed by society.
Now, Rabbi Jonathan Sachs has also been tweeting. He says this is a global phenomenon that demands a global response. What would that response look like? What kind of support are you asking for?
I totally agree that hatred, including anti-Jewish hatred, is a global disease that requires a global response. And we need to see communities working together. For example, I am the Vice President of the World Jewish Congress, and we need to see action from world leaders to tackle this clear problem, this rise in hate crime. And it corresponds also with the rise in populism, populist politics. And this can start with our political leaders that need to set a clear example and a clear message, which is followed through with clear action.
Maria Anderson, thank you very much for talking to us. It's 13 minutes past 7. Emergency fire warnings have been issued in the southeastern Australian state of Victoria, where East Gippsland, an area where tens of thousands of people are on holiday at the moment, is being severely affected by bushfires. Peter Thomas owns a hotel in East Gippsland and has decided not to leave. We managed to get through to him on the phone in the past hour, and he explained how far away the fires are and why he is staying.
At the moment, probably 5 kilometres to our northwest, and then the main point of the fire is around 4. That's probably 12 kilometres. We have a drop of fire comes down, and we're clearing little waves to 3 months. I've got a couple of yeah, my wife. We want to set it off. Got the stuff here and it's fun. And got the stuff in the car, so we can and we'll put motion and run it on the way.
That's Peter Thomas. Well, Darren Chester is the MP for Gippsland. He's on the line. Good morning, Mr. Chester.
Great to join you.
What are the circumstances where you are?
Well, where we are, it's about 4 hours east of Melbourne, and it's mainly a timber sort of bushland type area. It's quite sparsely populated compared to sort of UK standards, so it's not a lot of big towns, but there's about 200,000 hectares underway right now in the region. It's closest fire to me is about 20 kilometres away, a little town in the coast. It's a bit more protected by favourable weather conditions, but it's been what we call a stinking hot day here today. It's been over 40 degrees Celsius and hot windy conditions, which really encourage those fires to run quite aggressively throughout the day.
And that area that you are in, where your home is that an area where you were told to vacate or suggested to?
Well, the advice from the authorities was that particularly holiday makers who may have been here camping, whether in tents or in caravans and temporary accommodation, they were advised that they should leave yesterday because the highway's likely to be closed for people like myself.
What I'll do, when that falls gets here, I'll put that chair over there and you can run us and rush straight off.
Yeah. We're quite some distance from where the actual fire front is right now, and I think the preparations we made will be fine.
This chair over here.
You have to leave, they went up to there.
Stand by.
A few hours away or further down the line, so.
Get some shopping from Tesco now as well, John.
What now?
Yeah.
Alright, you're
I'll be back in about 40 minutes, John.
Alright.
Large amounts of bush burning, so it's
I'll drop them off in my kitchen. I'll come straight back. Oh, yeah, John.
Alright.
Cheers for
I'll pick you out at 9. No, at 9 I'm busy, yeah? You can stay until 9. You can stay until 9.
Yeah.
Come back, you can stay until 9, but at 9 I've got to kick you out. I've got things to do at 9.
Oh, yeah, sure, yeah.
Alright.
Cool, yeah.
Alright.
I think it's an important question of one of the big issues for us when it comes to living in this dry climate that we have here in Australia is on an annual basis we're likely to get some form of bushfires. Now, whether they're worse in the years to come is a debatable point, I suppose. One of the challenges we have, and I'm not sure how familiar with what we call prescribed burning, which is about trying to reduce the fuel loads in the months leading up to the bushfire season. So having cooler burns or prescribed burns which reduce the impact of the fires if there's a bushfire in the summer period. If you can reduce the fuel load in those cooler times, you do less damage in the summer periods. And unfortunately, I think we haven't done enough of the prescribed burning in recent times. There's a lot of fuel in there, which is really burning quite aggressively here at the moment.
Darren Chester, Gippsland, State of Victoria. It's now 17 minutes past 7. How do you square our desire for economic growth with the need to save the planet? Some economists think that whole profession might need a rethink. Here's Scott.
Yes, well, this is Kevin. Going up economics teaches environmental change institute. Okay, why do you know what you talk about? Some traditional policies, profit protection, growth, most things like that.
It's what do you mean by they shouldn't do?
Yeah, because economic theory back in 1870 wanted to be a science as repetitive physics. And so economists tried to take values and goals out of economics and leave it without a clear purpose. And into that place, that vacuum, creeps the goal of endless human growth. Almost a century ago, it was in the 1930s, the US, when Simon Kuznets was asking the national government to come up with a single number to measure the output of American economy. He did. We call it national income equality. He warned us this could scarcely be taken as the welfare nation. Politicians talk like a display that use this simplistic number ever since, and it's become something of a horse race. It may have seemed to be a fairly good proxy in the 1940s, 1950s, post-war, post-depression. If your economy is growing, somehow that's generating jobs. But now, in the 21st century, we know too much. We know that the way our economies are growing is running down the biology. And we know more.
What should we replace it with?
We should replace this pursuit of endless growth, no matter how rich we are, with thriving balance is something that we understand in our bodies. We want to grow until we overcome. And we need to create economies that thrive, that meet the needs of all people within the needs of the economy. That means finding out, do we ensure that our economy is based on health, education, housing, food, water, community, what is needed for people, measure all those things. And are we doing that in a way that brings us back to the climate emissions, water use? Are we reinvesting in our soils? Are we generating our landscape?
What about you said we're attractions and transitions, keeping things the same. It's something you can hang on to. You're talking about a multiplicity of things. Do you think it would be possible to make genuinely accurate metrics of each of those things you talk?
So if I offered you a car that had just one dial that added together a whole dashboard of petrol use and temperature and speed, you wouldn't want to talk. How insane would it be to try and run a common drive car with one metric? Of course, we want a dashboard to balance and complex, interdependent systems. Yes, we can measure these things, but of course, the metrics for measuring our carbon emissions, our water use, our soil fertility, and get better and better. We are inventing those second metrics that we need right now. We have to replace that with metrics we need.
Thank you very much, Kate.
Thanks, Doug. Now, many musicians are eager to advocate for environmental action, and that can be at odds with their own behaviour if launching tours cause significant carbon emissions. Our guest editor this morning is the environmental campaign at Bloomberg. So we wanted to examine how bands and artists can perform live without contributing to climate change. The group Massive Attack has been working with the Tyndall Centre for Climate Change to look at ways in which the industry can reduce its carbon footprint. And I've been talking to Massive Attack band member Robert O'Neill.
The music industry is no different to any other in that it has to change its behaviour fast. But as you know, it isn't. And because of its huge social influence and emotional resonance, you can argue it has an even great responsibility to change. So the fact that we're not doing much about it is pretty glaring.
Lots of businesses are trying to work out ways in which they can behave in a more environmentally friendly fashion. You're actually taking a good hard look at everything that's involved in touring to try and work out what would genuinely make a difference.
Yeah, we're working with Tyndall, Brick and Garner Change Research, and also working with the local health authority to put on a show as a kind of exemplar of what we're doing with Tyndall. I mean, working with the local council authority to close car parks, smart ticket mid-train operators, electric bus deals, and obviously renewable power sources. One of the main things is working with responsible corporate partnerships. It's great that gigs have that ability to convey a message, but if you then are partnering with corporate identities that are also less than sort of like clean on their environmental records, and also are potentially financial institutions that are backing fossil fuel institutions, then what kind of message does that send out?
And when we think about reducing the environmental impact of touring, we think about moving the band around, and presumably there are other flights involved, that kind of thing. Is that really what has the biggest impact, or what else would need to change?
We did a lot of what everyone's doing at the moment, which is offsetting. When it came down to the calculation of the carbon, the band and crew calculation was 10% of what the audience was. The audience made up sort of 89% of the carbon.
So anytime large groups of people gather together in one place, a lot of carbon's going to be expended on getting them there. Or compel all of them to change the way they travel to come and see you. So we have to rethink the idea of large events.
Well, we're working with local council authority. They're going to close the debate, which is quite a big thing to do in terms of local politics. You can imagine how that's going to go down. And we're working with an electric bus company to look at the energy renewable and obviously how we can create, go back to the grid, so we're hoping that we can actually create legacy green infrastructure, which can then power future gigs.
Of course, it needs to tour in order to make money, especially since streaming means far less in the tracks themselves. And in that, you're no different from a lot of other businesses where ultimately you have a problem. Are you going to carry on making money and growing the economy, or do you have to stop your economic activity in order to stop the environmental damage?
I'd like to think that we are a very creative industry. If we can show that through this tender report, we can share this report, we can show that there are many solutions to the answer and answer facing, that they won't have to complete stop sort. But we can just change the model of our business more responsible. I mean, next year we plan to travel to Europe solely by train with a man and crew around here.
On a simple line. And I can't have you on the line without asking you the big central question many people will be wanting to know. Are you the refugee artist Banksy?
No.
Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
You know that many people think you are, that charted your bands of progress around the country and wanted Banksy's artwork to watch at the same time.
I don't know people to some of that, let's say.
But this microphone, yesterday, they Google it mostly.
But this is mine then.
Yeah, man, this is a good one. It's called BM700 and Turner. And I Google it on the internet and I see they say it's good for like even when you're having guitar playing and things like that. It's good to captivate the sounds and everything and all of that because that, you know.
This lead's no good for me though. I'll half load that in.
Is there anything you take this on? I'll put another one inside.
It's their first when it starts to mark 9 years. Rugby Union, Exeter Chiefs are 8 point clear at the top of the Premiership. They beat Saracens 14-7 and South Park. And England's cricketers lost the first test to South Africa in a century, chasing 376 Joe Root side and bowled out 268. So what went wrong? Well,
He doesn't stay in there.
Oh, because it's fast. Yeah.
It's really not a good idea to use it. It's really better to use mine. But if you want to hold that one, I don't know. You need to get a special hold.
This one could be a holding one or something. Or if you got the thing that goes around here, hold it like this. Bracket.
Yeah.
But I think you're right. I think you do have to add something into there. I mean, it's been the most disturbed build-up many test matches, certainly in my experience. They have to go back to the 1960s.
I've got T25 feet.
Yeah,
What, you got money? £5, £10? £5, right.
The main bowlers after abroad, been in bed for a week. You know, with Joe Root and the
That looks small, but that's £5, yeah.
I mean, this was a bit of a one-off. That doesn't explain why England batted so horribly and lost 7 for 30. That's ridiculous. But it's the background environment that these days they're so carefully and cautiously monitored. All the preparation is done at every dot of an eye. And that was clearly thrown out. There two dressing rooms with some players in one room and some in the other because they were in quarantine. Others never made it to the ground at all. Somehow they've got to leave all that behind them. They come down to Cape Town tomorrow.
1 gram of tobacco, yeah?
Get down here and start again because
I haven't got any chains.
They've lost their last 5 tests until yesterday. England were never going to win that game yesterday. They were those people who thought.
You can have a cup of tea. So it's a gram of tobacco, you only £1, yeah? I'll put it on your account.
Yesterday, but it was too little, too late.
Go on, you can make a tea. Go on. I'll put 125 on the account. 125, yeah.
Yes, both. I mean, certainly. I mean,
the prize at the start, they decided to fold versus. It's all very well having some data, but if you employ somebody who is going to provide you with data as part of the team, and he gives it to you, you can't just say, well, I don't believe any of that and throw it away. Unfortunately, a lot of sport is data driven these days, and obviously there is room for that. But I just thought that decision on the first day was so chronically wrong for so many reasons, not least the illness, the heat, it was 30 odd degrees, the pitch was never going to get any better. There were loads of common sense reasons for why that was a bad decision. As the spinner, I think you always have to play a spinner rather than 5 fast bowlers.
Okay, thank you very much, Jonathan, and I hope you enjoy your time in Cape Town and Steve here at that. Today's tips, both at Taunton in the 255, number 3, Cumbria Bridge, and in the 330, number 5, the Soldier.
Thank you very much. Our new series for the panel game built on facts and fibs begins on Radio 4 tonight.
Words in the English language that Germans find easiest to say are rural, jura, squirrel, and canoe.
Yeah, I can say squirrel. David Mitchell chairs the quiz where panelists attempt to smuggle the truth across a sea of lies.
There probably has been an Erskine Macintosh, but we haven't heard of him, so we don't know whether he amounted to nothing. Although it makes it more likely it does. Unbelievable truth. This is a sort of communal challenge.